Okay, guys, I need to tell you about last night because it's been stuck in my head, replaying like a movie I can't pause. I'm Emma, 20 years old, college sophomore trying to balance classes, a barista job, and life in a new apartment. I was caught in a downpour, soaked to the bone, when my neighbor Ethan opened his door and invited me in to dry off. He's married, totally off limits, and I was just trying to get home. But the way he handed me a towel, the way our small talk turned into something warmer, quieter, it was like the storm outside was nothing compared to the spark inside. My heart's still racing, and I need to share every detail. Stick with me and please like and subscribe for more stories like this. The rain came out of nowhere. A sudden deluge that turned the streets into rivers and my walk home from the coffee shop into a soggy disaster. I, Emma, stood under the awning of my apartment building, shivering in my drenched denim jacket, my dark hair plastered to my face, and my sneakers squelching with every step. It was 6:30 p.m. on a chilly October evening, and I'd just finished a long shift at the coffee shop, my fingers still smelling faintly of espresso and cinnamon. My backpack, stuffed with psychology textbooks and a half-eaten granola bar, was soaked through, water dripping from the straps onto the pavement. My phone was dangerously low on battery, showing only 5% left, and the screen was fogged up from the moisture. I fumbled with my keys trying to get into the building, but the lock was jammed again. A frequent annoyance in this old brick walk-up with its squeaky doors and drafty halls. Thunder rumbled overhead, shaking the ground slightly, and I cursed under my breath visible in the cold air, as another gust of wind sent rain splashing against my legs. I'd been in this building for a month, but the lock had been finicky since day one. And tonight it was especially stubborn, the key sticking like it had a personal grudge. My arms were crossed tight against my chest, trying to hold in what little warmth I had left. But the chill had seeped into my bones, making my teeth chatter. I was regretting not bringing an umbrella again and wishing I'd taken the bus instead of walking the 2 miles to save on fare. The streetlights flickered on early, casting a yellow glow over the pooling water, and I could see my reflection in a puddle, looking every bit the drowned rat I felt like. That's when the door swung open with a creak, and there was Ethan, my neighbor from across the hall, holding a bag of takeouts in one hand and a folded umbrella in the other. He was probably in his early 30s, with dark blonde hair that looked slightly mussed from the wind, hazel eyes that seemed to catch every detail under the dim hallway light, and a build that made his navy hoodie and jeans look unfairly good. I'd met him and his wife Claire a few weeks ago when I moved in. Claire was a lawyer, always rushing off in sharp blazers and heels, her blonde bob sleek and her eyes focused like she was already mentally in a courtroom. Ethan was the opposite, warm, approachable, with a smile that lingered a little too long, making my cheeks flush before I could stop them. We'd exchanged small talk in the hallway about the weather, the noisy upstairs neighbor, the best coffee shop nearby, but nothing more. Not that I was noticing him. He was married and I was just the college kid next door. "Emma?" he said, his voice laced with surprise, his eyes widening as he took in my drenched state. The rain pattered against the umbrella he held, and he stepped forward slightly, blocking the wind. "You look like you lost a fight with a monsoon. You okay?" I laughed, though it came out more like a shiver, my voice trembling from the cold. "Yeah, just winning it. Life, clearly. The lock's stuck again, and I'm basically a drowned rat." He chuckled, a low, warm sound that cut through the storm's roar, and stepped aside, holding the door open wider. "Come on, get inside before you freeze. You can dry off at my place while you wait for the rain to let up. Claire's out of town for work, so it's just me." I hesitated, my heart giving a little jump at the mention of Claire, but the warmth of his offer was too tempting to refuse. My teeth were chattering, and the idea of standing out there any longer was unbearable. "Yisha, I don't want to drip all over your floor," He grinned, his eyes crinkling at the corners, the rain dripping from his umbrella. Floors can be mopped. Come on, I've got towels and hot coffee. You're shivering. My resolve crumbled, and I nodded, stepping inside, my sneakers leaving wet prints on the tile entryway. Thunder rumbled again, louder this time, and I followed him down the hall to his apartment, my heart racing for reasons I didn't want to admit. The building's hallway was dimly lit, the walls painted a faded beige, and the air smelled faintly of rain and old carpet. Ethan's door was at the end, opposite mine, and he pushed it open, gesturing for me to enter first. His place was cozy, a mirror of mine, port in size, but neater, with a leather couch facing a small TV, a dining table with a vase of fresh flowers, and a shelf lined with books and vinyl records. A laptop sat open on the coffee table, a graphic design project glowing on the screen, colorful logos and sketches, and the faint smell of Thai takeout hung in the air from the bag he set down on the counter. The windows rattled slightly as the storm raged outside, rain lashing against the glass, creating a soft, rhythmic backdrop that muffled the world beyond. Exposed brick walls and warm lighting from a floor lamp gave the space a welcoming feel, and I couldn't help but notice the personal touches. A framed photo of him and Claire on a beach, her arm around his waist, both smiling in the sun. A stack of legal journals on the dining table. A pair of heels by the door. My heart twinged at the reminders of his wife. A sharp nudge that I was just the neighbor, here to dry off and nothing more. But the way he glanced at me, his hazel eyes catching the light, made it hard to focus on that line. Ethan set his umbrella by the door and grabbed a fluffy gray towel from a hall closet, tossing it to me with a smile. Here, dry off before you catch pneumonia. I'll get the coffee going. I caught it, our fingers brushing for a split second, the contact sending a tiny spark through me, like static from the dry air inside. I draped the towel over my shoulder, rubbing my hair vigorously, and laughed, water dripping from my jacket onto the floor. Thanks. I owe you for saving me from becoming a human popsicle. This storm came out of nowhere. I was fine 5 minutes ago. He chuckled, head into the kitchen, his hoodie dark with rain spots on the shoulders. October in this city is unpredictable. 1 minute it's sunny, the next, it's like the sky's trying to rinse everything clean. Want some coffee? Or tea? I've got both, and it'll warm you up. Coffee sounds amazing, I said, my voice muffled as I toweled off my face, the soft fabric absorbing the moisture. As long as it's hot. Black is fine, not picky, he nodded, grabbing a mug from a cabinet and scooping coffee grounds into a French press. Coming right up. Make yourself at home. Couch is dry, I promise. I hesitated, then perched on the edge of his leather couch, careful not to drip too much. My denim jacket was soaked, so I shrugged it off, hanging it over the armrest, revealing a damp white t-shirt that clung to my skin, making me hyper-aware of how unpolished I looked. My dark hair was a wet mess, frizzing around my face, and my freckles stood out starkly against my chilled, pale skin. My leggings were damp at the hems, and I pulled the towel tighter around my shoulder, feeling exposed but trying to play it cool. The couch was soft, sinking slightly under me, and I glanced around the room, taking in the details, the vinyl records on the shelf, titles like Born to Run and Abbey Road catching my eye, a potted plant on the windowsill that looked healthier than my succulents, a remote on the coffee table next to his laptop. The storm outside intensified, lightning flashing through the blinds, followed by a crack of thunder that made me jump slightly. Ethan noticed, glancing over from the kitchen with a smile. Storm's picking up. Good thing you're inside. Claire hates thunder. She'd be hiding under a blanket right now. I laughed, but my heart twinged again at the mention of his wife, a reminder of the boundaries. Claire was real, not just a name, but a person with a life intertwined with his, and I had no business letting my thoughts wander. Sounds like she's got the right idea. I'm not a fan either, but I'm pretending to be brave. He chuckled, pouring hot water into the French press. The rich aroma of coffee filling the room, mixing with the scent of rain from my clothes. Brave looks good on you. Here, he said, handing me a steaming mug, our fingers brushing again. The warmth of his skin contrasting with my cold ones. The touch lingered in my mind, sending a flutter through my stomach. And I took the mug, wrapping my hands around it, the heat seeping into my chilled fingers. Thanks, I said, my voice softer now, inhaling the steam. You're kind of a hero tonight. He shrugged, sipping his own coffee, leaning against the counter opposite me, the kitchen open to the living room. Just being neighborly. Can't let you drown out there. Besides, it's nice to have company on a night like this. The rain pounded against the windows, a steady rhythm that matched my pulse. And I took a sip, the bitter heat spreading through me, chasing away the chill. Company, huh? Careful, I might start crashing here every time it rains. He grinned, his eyes sparkling under the lamplight. Doors always open, but I might start charging rent in coffee stores. I laughed, the sound easing the tension, but the air between us shifted, the storm's roar filling the silence. Our eyes met, and for a moment, neither of us spoke, the quiet heavy with something unspoken. I knew I should keep things light, but his gaze was warm, searching, like he was seeing me for the first time. My heart raced, and I took another sip, trying to ground myself. The coffee was strong, just how I liked it, and the warmth spread through my chest, but it did little to calm the flutter in my stomach. So, I said, forcing a lighter tone, setting my mug on the coffee table, what's the deal with you? Always rescuing neighbors, or am I special? He chuckled, his eyes crinkling. You're definitely special. Most neighbors don't show up looking like they swam here. I laughed, rolling my eyes, but my cheeks warmed under his gaze. Rude. I was going for drowned chic. It's a look. He grinned, his gaze lingering a beat longer than it should have. It's working for you. Seriously though, is you okay? That storm looks bad out there. I nodded, rubbing my arms through the towel. I'm fine now. I'm just cold and wet. Thanks for this towel, coffee, the whole package. You didn't have to. He waved it off, his smile softening. It's no trouble. Claire's out of town for a conference, so the place is quiet. Nice to have someone to talk to. My heart twinged again at the mention of Claire, but I kept my smile in place, tilting my head. Quiet, huh? What do you do on nights like this when she's gone? Work on your designs? He nodded, glancing at his laptop. Usually, graphic design deadlines don't care about weather. But tonight I was just grabbing takeout and calling it a night. Ty from that place down the street want some? There's plenty. I hesitated, my stomach rumbling at the thought. Isha, I don't want to eat your dinner. He laughed, pulling the bag from the counter. It's enough for an army. Come on, you look like you could use a meal after that walk. I smiled, standing to join him at the counter, the towel slipping slightly from my shoulders. Okay, twist my arm, but only because I'm starving. He unpacked the containers, pad thai, spring rolls, curry, the savory aromas filling the room, mixing with the coffee and rain. We sat at the small dining table, the chairs close enough that our knees almost brushed, and he handed me a fork, our fingers touching briefly again. The touch was innocent, but it sent a spark through me, and I focused on the food, twirling noodles on my fork. This is amazing, I said, taking a bite, the flavors exploding on my tongue. You have good taste. He grinned, digging into his own portion. It's my guilty pleasure. Claire's more of a salad girl, so I indulge when she's away. I laughed, but the mention of Claire brought me back to reality. Sounds like she keeps you on the straight and narrow. He chuckled, but there was a flicker in his eyes. She tries. Keeps me busy too. Law firm life is non-stop. I nodded, sensing the weight behind his words. Must be tough. Do you ever get time for yourself? He shrugged, his smile wry. Not as much as I'd like. But I make do music walks, the occasional takeout binge. What about you? College life keeping you on your toes? I smiled, taking another bite. Always. Psych classes are intense, and the barista job is a grind. but I like it. Keeps him moving. We talked as we ate, the conversation flowing as like the challenges of balancing work and school, his favorite design projects, my latest psych paper on cognitive biases. The rain continued outside, a steady patter that made the apartment feel even cozier, like a bubble against the world. Thunder rumbled occasionally, but inside the air was warm, the food comforting, and his laughter genuine. After we finished, he cleared the plates, and I helped, our hands brushing in the sink as we rinsed. The touch was brief, but it lingered in my mind, and I caught him glancing at me, his eyes warm. "You didn't have to help," he said, drying a plate. I shrugged, smiling. "Teamwork. Besides, I owe you for the meal." He chuckled, setting the plate down. "Fair enough." My eyes drifted to the shelf of vinyl records, slightly disorganized, some sleeves leaning precariously. "Your records look like they're about to stage a breakout," I said, forcing a playful tone to break the tension. "Want help organizing them?" "I owe you no for the towel, coffee, and now dinner." He raised an eyebrow, but his smile didn't fade. "You're volunteering for chores now. I'm not going to say no to that." I laughed, standing and moving to the shelf, the towel still draped over my shoulders. He followed, and we knelt by the records, pulling them out one by one. Our fingers brushed as we handed albums back and forth, each touch sending a spark through me. We talked as we worked, the conversation flowing effortlessly, his love for vinyl, how he'd scored a rare Springsteen record at a flea market, my obsession with cheesy 80s pop that I'd blast while studying. And we laughed about the upstairs neighbor who vacuumed at midnight, and he teased me about my damp t-shirt, calling it avant-garde fashion. "You're one to talk," I shot back, holding up a slightly worn Led Zeppelin sleeve. "This record's seen better days. You treat all your treasures like this." He chuckled, taking it from me, his fingers grazing mine. "Only the ones I love the most. Keeps them honest." I laughed, but the air between us shifted again, the silence filled with the rain's soft patter. Our eyes met, and for a moment neither of us moved, the space between us charged with something unspoken. I knew I should pull back, but my hand lingered on a record, my fingers close to his, and the warmth of his gaze made it hard to think straight. We finished organizing the records, the shelf looking neater, and stood, our shoulders brushing as we stepped back. "Not bad," I said, smiling up at him. "You're welcome." He grinned, his eyes warm. "I should be thanking you. You're making my place look better than I ever have." I laughed, but the air felt heavier now. The storm outside softening, but the tension inside growing. I glanced at the window, noticing the rain had slowed to a drizzle. "Looks like it's letting up," I said, my voice quieter than I meant it to be. "I should probably get back." He nodded, but his eyes lingered on me, reluctant. "Yeah, probably, but no rush, right?" My heart fluttered, and I bit my lip, trying to keep my cool. "No rush," I said, matching his tone, my voice soft. "But I don't want to overstay my welcome." He shook his head, his smile warm. "You're not." This was nice. The silence stretched between us, filled with the faint drip of rain and the hum of something unspoken. I knew I should leave, but my feet stayed rooted. My eyes locked on his. He was married. I was just the neighbor. But the way he was looking at me like he didn't want the moment to end made it hard to move. I grabbed my damp jacket from the couch, slipping it on, and he walked me to the door. "Here," he said, handing me the towel I'd left behind. I took it, our fingers brushing again, the touch lingering just a moment too long. The air felt electric, like the storm had moved inside and our eyes met, warm and searching. "Thanks for the rescue," I said, my voice soft, my hand still resting lightly on his as I held the towel. "You're kind of amazing." He smiled, his gaze softening like he was trying to figure out what to say. "Anytime, Emma. You know where to find me." My heart raced and I swallowed hard, trying to keep my voice steady. "I'll hold you to that," I said, matching his tone. I stepped into the hallway, the cool air, a shock after the warmth of his apartment, but I couldn't resist one last tease. "Next time I'll bring coffee." maybe even some cookies. He grinned, leaning against the door frame, his eyes never leaving mine. I'm counting on it. See you around, Emma. As he closed the door, I walked across the hall into my apartment, my heart pounding. The rain had stopped, but the memory of his touch, his smile, his voice lingered, a moment neither of us wanted to end. Thanks for listening to my confession, guys. I hope you felt that spark as much as I did. If you loved this story, please like and subscribe for more.